Hello, this is a presentation for the HPD in Sport and Recreation Management, Unit 6, Quality and Customer Care Management in the Sport and Recreation Industry. Now, the focus of this presentation is an overview of total quality management, analysing its effectiveness within the Hawthorne School Sports Centre. Now, it's important first of all to define quality. Kalman 2003 defines quality as value for money, fitness for use, consistency, excellence and product integrity. Oakland 2003 goes on to say that quality has to be managed, it cannot just happen. Looking more specifically now at the concept of total quality management, this can be defined as an approach to improving the effectiveness of a business as a whole, that is a process from top to bottom, bottom to top, which involves every person in an organisation in order to ensure customer satisfaction at every stage. And that's from Torkils in 2005. Now, it's important to look at principles within the idea of total quality management, and Kanji and Asher comes up with 4 guiding principles. These are delighting the customer, management by fact, people-based management, and continuous improvement. And we'll look at these again when we look at the Hawthorne School Sports Centre. Now, the evolution of total quality management has happened over a period of time. It started off with inspection, moved on to quality control, then we had quality assurance. Now, in modern day, we have the whole concept of total quality management. And the origins of TQM are usually ascribed to Japan's search for quality improvement in the 1950s after the Second World War, and they used quality gurus such as Deming, Giran and Feigenbaum to improve the quality of their manufacturing industry. And then the whole concept has evolved over time to the current day total quality management systems. Now, there is also something called the Total Quality Management Framework, which we can look at here. Now, at the centre of this, encompassing all, is the performance of the organisation. Surrounded by performance, it's important to have a strong positive culture, have commitments to the performance, and also clear communication. And then on the outside of this you have people, that's the human resource management, having the right processes in place, and also having the correct planning in place. Now, within this you have culture, and it's important to define culture. Culture is the development or improvement of the mind by educating or training. Now, having the right culture is all about maintaining high standards, meeting and exceeding the expectations of the customer. The service industry is all about return customers, making sure customers visit and come back and spend their money. And also, it's important to keep up with the competition. Having the right culture has you one step ahead of the competition. It's all about a positive experience gives you a returning customer. Now, looking at the work of Deming. Deming came up with 7 deadly sins that hinder quality. But he also came up with 14 key principles to cure these deadly sins. And we're going to look at 4 in particular: adapting a new learning philosophy, ceasing dependence on inspection, institute a vigorous education and self-improvement program, and instituting modern methods of training on the job. And we will come back to this later when we look at the Hawthorne Sports Centre and implementing a new staff training program. Now, Deming came up with something called the PDCA cycle, and he actually evolved and developed this, and it was known as the Deming Wheel. Now, the PDCA cycle looks at planning to improve your operations, do changes on a small scale to see how effective they are, checking whether or not they work on the small scale, and if they do work, these changes, then acting and implementing these on a higher level. So this PDCA cycle is used when you implement a new process, and again this will be used when we come to the Hawthorne School Sports Centre. Now, also within total quality management you have something called the quality chains, and this concept of quality chains is all about the link between the customer and the supplier. The customer-supply link is very important. If that breaks, that relationship breaks down, the customer will not return to that organisation, they will go elsewhere. So it is important there is a strong link between the customer and the supplier or the organisation. These links are really important in terms of the profitability and successfulness of an organisation. Now, there are barriers to total quality management. These are things such as the lack of money to invest in investment in new training programs, high staff turnover, regularly having to employ new staff and losing current staff, a lack of leadership. Deming says that 94% of total quality management fails because of lack of strong leadership. And there is no ownership of new processes that are put in place. Staff can't be bothered, no one wants to take them on. A weak organisation culture as well. We talked about culture earlier. Having a strong culture is important. Having a weak culture means that new initiatives fail and staff have that lack of ownership. Poor planning, no planning in place. Again, looking at the PDCA cycle, not having strong planning. Lack of effective measurement tools. Organisations can't measure how effective their total quality management systems are, how successful they are doing as an organisation. And lack of training for staff. Staff aren't trained appropriately. So, talking about total quality management, it's also interesting to compare quality management versus customer care. It takes a long time to change a customer's opinion of poor care. Quality customer care and services can turn around an organisation's reputation. By managing quality, customers' needs and requirements are met. Keeping the quality chains linked will always lead to, the majority of the time, will lead to improved profitability of the organisation. Now, we talk about quality. There are quality systems out there that measure an organisation's successfulness in terms of offering quality. There are things such as best value, which provides clear standards, targets are continuous, customers and clients of services have more of a say in the organisation, how it works, and these are accredited by independent audits and inspections, so that's an external accredited system. There is Quest. Quest is an accredited system specifically to the leisure industry. You have Investors in People, which is more human resource based assessment, and then you have ISO 9001-2008, which is the internationally recognised standard for the quality management of the business. So these are all external quality management systems. Now, looking at quality management systems, if you are going to look at implementing one of these, you need to decide which standard you want to follow, fully understand the standard, ensure the management team agree on everything, there is shared agreement. Essential employment training is offered, develop clear products, implement the system, assess and then advertise success. By achieving one of these accreditation systems, it shows the customer that you are offering quality. By benchmarking, and what we mean by benchmarking is looking at the way we compare ourselves to other organisations, other systems. Benchmarking, here we have four categories here that's provided by Oakland 2003. You've got comparing business practices with other successful, highly achieving organisations within or outside your industry. You've got change, which is changing the perspective of executives and managers. You've got challenge, and that's challenging the current policies and practices that you offer in your organisation, and then creating improved goals and practices within your organisation. Now, there's four basic categories of benchmarking. Those are internal, which is the search for best practice. How can you get best practice within your organisation? Look at things like KPI reports, key performance indicators. The Hawthorne School Sports Centre offers these. Functional, seeking best practice outside the industry. You've got generic, that's comparison to outside processes, irrespective of the industry, looking at other industries and how well they do things. And then competitive, looking at direct competition. What is the competition offering? Now, having an effective review process is really important with any organisation, reviewing how successful they are. It is important to recognise that it's cheaper to retain than to recruit new customers. There needs to be a consistency in delivery throughout the organisation, that's with staff taking a real ownership, being proactive in continuous improvement, having a good image and reputation, reducing costs, and a competitive advantage. And all of this leads to meeting the customer's needs and expectations, meeting the customer's requirements. It's having confidence, the customer having confidence that that company can deliver. Now, looking at customer satisfaction and feedback, we've got quantitative research against qualitative research. How do you know what you are offering is of a high standard? So it's researching with the customer, and we've got some analysis here of quality and quantitative research. Just going to pick out two here. Quantitative research, the purpose to quantify data and generalise results from a sample population, and then you've got quality research to gain an understanding of underlying reasons and motivations. So this is more open questions, where these are more fact and figure based questions. Looking at theory within customer research, we're just going to look at a quantitative theory here. Here's a quote here saying, customers judge service delivery via the formula that customers' perception should equal or exceed customer expectations for them to be satisfied. And this is known as the serve or gap analysis model. This quote is provided by Williams and Buzzell 2003. This is an example of a quantitative theory within customer feedback theory. Now looking at the Hawthorn Sports Centre, looking at the feedback that the Hawthorn Sports Centre generates. It has a customer feedback form. This is both qualitative and quantitative. These results are published monthly. We have a members forum yearly, which is qualitative. We have KPI indicators, which are quantitative. These are both on numbers on schemes, product numbers, visitors, and also our KPI on our cleaning, how successful our cleaning contractors are. Customer loyalty is heavily linked to increased revenue within any organisation. That's important to remember that. The weaknesses the Hawthorn Sports Centre has, there has no real customer care training and no real benchmarking. So these are two areas that will be addressed within this presentation. Now looking at Hawthorn's Sports Centre, we're looking now to implement new changes. We're going to use the PDCA cycle. We need to establish best practices, and we're going to take 4 of the principles taken from Deming's 14 key principles. We're going to take 3 principles of adapting a new learning philosophy, instituting a vigorous education and self-improvement programme, and instituting modern methods of training on the job. And we're going to look at something called the fish philosophy. Now the fish philosophy was discovered and brought to the fore by John Christensen of Charterhouse Learning in 1997. He had visited a fish market in Seattle, and he saw from this fish market it was a hugely successful fish market due to the relationship the market had with its customers. And he came up with 4 key areas. Those are be there, choose your attitude, make their day and play. Now be there is all about when people need you, when your customer needs you, focusing on that customer, giving them your full attention. Play, it's all about playing within your job, enjoying yourselves, making your customers see that you're enjoying yourselves. It's a fun environment to work in. In the fish market, they used to throw the fish around to each other. It's all about that whole idea of play and fun, but also taking the job seriously, making the customer's day. And this goes back to Kanji and Asher when he talked about delighting a customer. This is all about making a customer's day, gestures, simple goodwill gestures to make a customer's day, make the customer feel important. And then also choosing your attitude, the final one. Staff go to work with a certain attitude. Everyone has a control of how they perceive themselves to the customer, all about choosing a positive attitude every day you go to work. So this philosophy will be introduced as a fundamental part of the Hawthorn Sports Centre staff training programme. Now, recommendations for improvement within the Hawthorn School Sports Centre. Following the Total Quality Management Framework, we're going to look at improving feedback through direct contact, arranging more regular customer forums. At the moment they're yearly, we're going to look at monthly ones. Achieving Quest accreditation, the quality standards for leisure industry, achieving that Quest accreditation, and also making sure we publicise that to our customers that we've achieved a certain score within Quest. That gives us a way of benchmarking against other organisations. Introducing a new customer care policy within the Sports Centre, looking to make sure we reply to customers' issues, complaints, suggestions within 24 hours. Having a customer suggestion box, and then publishing all our results and celebrating our successes. Where we do well, we celebrate what improvements we've made, where we've looked to improve. Looking at a summary now of the overall concept of total quality management. In order to achieve TQM, an organisation must be able to measure its performance. The processes can be improved, understood and then controlled. The purpose of all work is to satisfy the customer. All employees must be committed to quality. If they're not, then there is a break in the quality chain system. We talked about the relationship between the customer and the supplier, making sure that the chain is not broken. There is a strong link there with quality. All processes need full understanding. All the processes that are in operation, staff need to understand that. Having a quality measurement, having that can be achieved through benchmarking yourselves against accreditation systems, against your own benchmarking internally that you set up, meeting certain scores each month. Having focus groups, what customers want from us, using quality management systems, things like Quest self-assessments, and customer surveys, and generating feedback. So that is an overview of what we've looked at in this presentation, and I hope you've enjoyed the time listening to me today. We have got a bibliography here of all the text used, and there is an appendix with 2 examples of current customer feedback forms that the Hawthorn Sports Centre offers its customers. Thank you.